You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy Podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning. Good morning, fine gentlemen.
How are you?
You know, I've had better Friday nights, but yeah.
James Trafford. What a goalkeeper, says Tom.
What a keeper.
What's he on about?
Oh, absolute
best
menace
keeper in
to
the world.
Society is Old Trafford. He should have been off the pitch, but never mind. I'm sure we'll come to that. Yes, welcome back to Right. It's called Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy Podcast.
Thank you.
I just went over one of the previous shows where, I don't know, you just sort of spit the words out in random, like you drop the Scrabble letters all over. So come on, that's how you start the show professionally, Sunshine.
My bad.
All right?
My bad. I apologise.
Right, do you just want to explain why you look like you're on the Potato Camp 3000?
Yep. Yeah, so what's happened is, obviously, those that watch football would have seen Isidore absolutely bottling last night. Sunderland have called me over, and they said, come and help our strikers as a striker coach. So I'm currently at Heathrow waiting for a plane, and I'm just filming it. No, I'm on summer holidays. I'm in the caravan. I apologise. Obviously, I know it's back to front. When you guys have your summer holidays, that's my winter. Well, you're in your winter holidays. This is my summer holiday. So I'm in the caravan, went searching for some water, and I've been lucky enough to steal the old people's Starlink. So shout out to them. Where I've linked up to Starlink. Elon Musk, it works well. And I'm here representing the borough with my two good friends, ready to talk about how to take penalties.
Brilliant. In typical Australian style, still a criminal stealing off old people.
Allegedly.
Yeah, well, allegedly, yes. I mean, Steve, they didn't get to Australia because they were behaving well. Let's be honest. So, yes, Newcastle are on a run. Sunderland are running away from Borough, and Borough just have the runs, really. We're going to be talking about the last night's game. Obviously, there's a few comments already starting to sneak in about James Trafford, about penalties, about, attendances for cup games. Who needs the cup anyway? So, yes, we'll talk about last night's game at Turf Moor, where that leaves Sunderland's promotion hopes against arguably the side to beat. I think it's probably the better side we've played so far this season. Only Leeds, I think, probably better than them. We'll be talking Newcastle with Steve. Isaac's now after Vardy's record. They've won 9 on the trot. Can anything stop them? And, Steve, I have a theory.
Oh,
yes.
Interesting.
And I'm going to let you have a little bit of time to think about this.
Right, okay.
But is your beard the secret behind the success of Newcastle United? Because that beard has been growing since
Isaac's been growing his score tally. Right? I agree.
Well, don't you've noticed?
That's not coming up till you lose a game, is it?
People on NFC Matters haven't noticed, but I've just gone secretly along with this business. But
we're your two best friends in the whole entire world. We would never miss something like this. After working on the radio together, where we saw each other. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it was we noticed these things. As you notice, mine's very Ranger-ish right now.
Until we win a trophy, said Tom.
What
could be like Gandalf.
Mine's getting far too much frame it now anyway. But yeah, obviously we'll talk about Newcastle. We're going to talk we've got to hear from the mouth from the south, the blunder from down under, my championship bro Rye. Borough's still very much in the playoff hunt. Got a game today, right?
We do. Pompey away.
Oh, you'll smash them. them. That'll be no bother at all. So, yes. We will talk to Rye as well about Smuggy's maybe giving up on the automatic spot. Is that gone now? But we'll come back to that anyway. We'll talk transfer window. We've got Steve's Troll of the Week, which is actually my favourite part of the show. And we're going to kick off, first of all, with a very, very sad news of the passing of Denis Law, who he's kind of remembered fondly between us three because of a what the fact I did many months ago that Rye cheated on.
Allegedly.
But a phenomenal talent, absolutely phenomenal talent. One of the few players that ever crossed the Manchester divide. Played for both City and United. He actually relegated Manchester United with a goal that he tried his best to miss. I think out of respect for them with a cheeky back heel. But Steve, will come to you first. Denis Law is one of the names that's just synonymous. It was the holy trinity at Manchester United. Just an unbelievable player for his time, wasn't he?
Yeah, known as the king, wasn't he? And he had a great career for Scotland as well. I think he holds the record amount of goals scored for Scotland, 30 for a player. So, as you mentioned, he crossed the divide. He played for Manchester City. Not once but twice. I think he started off there, went abroad. Was it Torino or somewhere like that, and then came back to Old Trafford, as you say, to set up the Holy Trinity with Best and Charlton. Brought Manchester United, league titles, European titles, FA Cups, and it was a hell of a trio really for Manchester United, who obviously they have statue outside the ground, which is rightfully there. The back heel against Manchester City, which he didn't celebrate against Manchester United, which he didn't celebrate for Manchester City, is one of those kind of goals which is ingrained in your mind if you're of a certain vintage in the UK, watching it on TV. And straight after scoring that goal, he was automatically he asked to be substituted. It meant so much to him, but it didn't sour the Manchester United fans' feelings for him. He was often on the pitch and in the stands. He went on and had a great media career as well. So ultimately, Manchester United are in mourning for a legend, and what he must think now of the current plight that he finds his team find itself in. I mean, this. It's almost been comical. They're celebrating a 3-1 win over Southampton, which they could have easily lost. Celebrating like they've won the cup. And countless images and videos being circulated around social media this week of mice and rats literally running through the stand, running running across the pitch. I mean, it's how the mighty have fallen, really. But yeah, Denis Law. Interesting because my granddad was a referee, and he was a linesman at Old Trafford for a game, and he always used to tell this story about Denis Law came over and gave him a mouthful for putting his flag up and calling him offside on this particular occasion. My granddad then obviously brought the referee across, and he was booked. Denis Law was booked. Now they appealed the booking, and he had to go and give evidence at the FA. My granddad, and it was a word which begins with a C and ends in a T that Denis Law had called me granddad. Denis Law's Denis. It's 4 letters. Denis Law basically said he called me granddad a coot, and for many years afterwards, my granddad always said that Denis Law didn't know the difference between a coot and a. So there you go. I have got the paperwork for that particular FA dispute somewhere, but he knows well. He just always found that funny, and it was a great after dinner story for me granddad, that one.
Absolutely. Rye, I mean, other than Googling his scoring exploits and completely ruining a game, is Denis Law known much over in Australia? It's obviously a lot of Man United fans over there. Like us, we know there's none in Manchester.
Mate, literally just walking in to come and sit down. I have the Borough shirt on, and someone yelled out, "Nice Man United top." I can't believe it. But look, the Lawman honestly was he was a legend, wasn't he? And the thing, Michael Carrick spoke a little bit about him. Obviously, Michael Carrick connected to Man United quite heavily. I mean, he said that what made he made his he made people smile with just how brilliant he was in front of goal. And as me as you would well know, Ted, that I'm a stats man. I look back at a lot of things just to be prepared for every what the fact. And I was a massive fan of Denis Law. I knew exactly when you came up with that what the fact, that was Denis Law, straight like that. It just came to me, and it was just because of the person that he was. He was everyone said that he was a wonderful, warm character off the pitch as well, and I think that's just the asset of the man. And one thing that I always love about it, and Michael Carrick said this as well, was that back then he said he did the British record fee at £115,000. Like, that was the record fee for a British transfer when he went back to Man United from Torino. So yeah, it's 100. We just seen Haaland go and sign yesterday for Man City. For whatever it was, and we've seen obviously back then for him. So it's just incredible what he did, and we're unfortunately. These types of legends, I don't know if we see these types of footballers ever again in our day and age. We've got, don't get me wrong, great players, but to see a Scottish man who won the Ballon d'Or, don't forget. I mean, he won the Ballon d'Or, and then with his goal scoring record and all that sort of stuff, it was a legend of our game, and honestly one of the nicest guys. That with every interview you did, you could just see his character, and I think he'll be sorely missed, definitely in the Manchester area, but as a footballing whole.
Yeah, absolutely, mate, absolutely. Well, we did mention what the fact, and I have one for you, gents. Unfortunately, we have a bit of a problem with some damp in the apartment, so the trumpet has been stored away somewhere. Mrs. Ted has been clearing up, and I don't know where it is. Mrs. Ted is also out of the country, so I don't know where the trumpet is whatsoever. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. We're gonna miss the theme tune this week. Just to hear everybody the singing. Because I know Steve doesn't like our singing. Steve's very particular. If we're going to do a musical number, we need to rehearse first, Steve. We'll have to have choreography and all that kind of thing. And so, we'll give that a little bit of a miss today. So, I do have a what the fact. Remember, what the fact is, I have a wonderful fact about Northeast football. So, it'll affect either Newcastle, Sunderland, or Middlesbrough, or all three. And that's not a clue at all. It's not. Basically, I'm going to give you 3 clues. You have to guess what the fact. So, if you don't mind, gentlemen, we're going to start with the first clue.
Okay.
Your first clue for this week's What the Fact. It was a British record that was moulded in the Northeast, but only lasted for 1 season. Put your phone down.
Oh, sorry, I had a phone call. Sorry, that was me. Sorry.
A British record which was set in the Northeast but only had 1 season.
A British record that was forged in the Northeast but only lasted for 1 season.
Forged. Is that free? Forged. Is it Middlesbrough? Because was it steel in Middlesbrough? Forged, steel, forge.
He's good.
Well done. He's very good. He is. That's why we keep him around. Do you know what I mean? He's the intelligence.
Steve didn't go bald. His brain.
It's just.
Get involved in the chat. Anybody help us out with this, because he is quite sly with these clues. So yeah.
Hey, I've made them a lot simpler than what they used to be. Remember the one I did about the what was it, the biggest tournament in the world that was taking place in Thailand?
Oh,
I've got absolute.
You've had some crackers. You've had some crackers.
This is a lot easier. So, yes, I'll give you one more go at it. So, it's a Northeast football fact. You have to guess what the fact. Your first clue, it was a British record that was forged in the Northeast, but only lasted for 1 season. Graham, you can phone a friend, and you can also explain to Rye what one is. So, anyway, that's
a British record, of course, could be a transfer.
I got you, Graham.
Alan Shearer was the most expensive player ever in the world when he signed for Newcastle. Is that it?
No.
Okay.
There you go. We'll come back to that in about 20 minutes' time. Anyway, we'll quickly cover off last night's game for Sunderland because I don't want to dwell on it. Yeah. We said just before the show, before we went live, that if you'd offered me a 0-0 before a ball was kicked and nobody had to travel to Burnley on a Friday night or anything like that, every single Sunderland fan would have went, yeah, we'll have that. Thank you very much. And we'll take 4 points off one of the favourites to get promoted. You just call it there and then. But obviously the two decisions, the first one was not a penalty. It was outside of the box. It definitely was. And I'm very surprised that didn't get called. It didn't take VAR to figure that one out. It was very clearly outside. We probably would have stood a better chance having a free kick, in all truth. But it was one of those games where I thought Burnley started very, very well. First 15, 20 minutes, we were very much under the cosh. I thought Burnley kind of bullied us a little bit almost, and it just looked like we didn't really get a grip on the game properly. We couldn't get Enzo Lafay and Patrick Roberts into the game as fluidly as what we would like to. The usual problem with Anthony Patterson with distribution was a bit awry as well. There was a couple of problems there, but it settled down. I've got to say I was very, very impressed with the debut from Enzo Lafay. I know it's, a lot's been said about him, and obviously you're talking about a £20 million plus player that's come to the Championship to get football games. So it's great. It says a lot about the pulling power of Regis Lebris to actually get a player like that in, who he's worked with previously. He was third in assists behind Messi and Neymar 2 seasons ago in the French league. He's not a bad pedigree at all. There's a lot of money changed hands for him, and I can see why. He looked great last night. Some of the passes he picked out. What really impressed me about him is when you watch really good midfielders, they've got their head up and they're looking around, even off the ball. They're looking to see what's around them, what runs are being made, and I really like that. That's proper football intelligence to me. And he was just really aware of his surroundings, picked out some lovely passes. Another day we would have come away with 3 points, but listen, we are far exceeding the expectations of this season. We thought, consolidate. We needed a better season than what we had last season. That went without saying. It wouldn't take a massive amount to do that either, but it's progress. And when you're coming away from Turf Moor with their budget, with the parachute payments and everything like that, that's progress to me. And there's a few fans that are a bit upset about it and kind of reacted badly after the game. Listen, none of us were happy, but at the same time, you take it on the chin. I'm sure that the squad as a whole will come back stronger after that. It's nobody's having a pop at Isidore from the Sunderland fans or anything like that. He'll score plenty more goals before the end of the season. Nobody's going to have a pop at him or anything like that. It wasn't for the want of trying last night. Good performance. You take the point. We move on. It just broadens that gap between ourselves and Middlesbrough, which is obviously delightful for us to see. You can roll your eyes all you like. A few decent performances. I'm still jury's out for me with Anthony Patterson. We've talked about this, lads. We're in the middle of a transfer window now, and honestly, I wouldn't be massively upset if we brought Matty Young back from loan at Salford City, put Simon Moore in as first choice keeper for till the end of the season, and sold Pato. It's just I don't like his distribution at all, and it just doesn't seem to get better. If you've got a problem as a player, and listen, we watch enough football to know when a player has an issue with something, and it just feels like to me that it ain't getting any better. And if it is being worked on, that's even more worrying that it's not improving. So, great shot stopper. He pulled off a magnificent save in the first half as well. But that's not all a keeper needs to be in the modern game. They almost need to be a sweeper and just as good with their feet as they are with their hands, and not wasting time like what James Trafford did. But there we go. So yes, we'll take the point. We'll move on, lads. Moving on altogether, 12 miles up the road, I suppose. Steve, that run that you're on at the minute, it just seems to be like there's nothing stopping Newcastle. It's an absolute juggernaut. And when you look at the fixtures that are coming up, you kind of think, I can't see you losing the game anytime soon.
It's phenomenal to be a fan at the minute of Newcastle United because, yeah, it is a great run. And you just got to sit back and enjoy these kind of runs. They don't, come along very often for North East teams. I've got to be honest, when I was down at the Emirates and watching Newcastle play Arsenal in the first leg of the semi-final, that there was me and a few other fans and people. If you go regularly as an away supporter, you'll see people whose faces you recognise, but you don't know their names. And there was quite a few people who we saw and we're just talking and we're going, this just feels so different, There's a belief there on the terraces and there's a belief in the dressing room. Anthony Gordon, after that game, had come on and said, I walked into that changing room before the match and I believed that we could win and everybody else did. And that's where we're at the moment. There's a belief running through the squad. And you could easily pick out any player in recent games to say he did this really well. You've got obviously Alexander Isak, who's on this wonderful goal scoring run at the moment. As you mentioned earlier, he's chasing down Vardy's Premier League record of 11 goals in 11 games. But it's so much more than that. You've got Anthony Gordon, who had a wonderful season last season and is continuing that form at this moment in time. He's scoring goals. You've got Tonali, who is called a machine in Italy, and you can see why. He's running around that pitch in the 90th minute as if it's the first minute, and he continues to put out fires. There's performances from the likes of Dan Burn and Fabian Shaw, which should never go unnoticed. Shaw then drops out. Botman comes back after such a long layoff. It looks like he's never been away. Martin Dubravka, who 2 weeks ago looked as if he was being sold to the Saudi League, is now performing to the top of his ability, and it's going to make it very difficult for the returning Nick Pope next week to get back into the team. I could go on. The fullbacks, the two England fullbacks, Livramento and Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall, who couldn't buy a game last season, is now an ever present and the only person who's played in every Premier League game. So the team is performing. There is really so many superlatives you could use. We've got a game today which is going to test that boundary, and but we've said that for a long time now. We've said Manchester United away, that's going to be the test. Tottenham Hotspur away, that's going to be the test. Arsenal in the semi-final, first leg away, that's going to be the test. We'll pass them all with flying colours. So, Wolves was a potential banana skin. And I don't think Newcastle were at the top of the game on Wednesday night. But you know what? They played really well and they did enough. And, Wolves weren't the worst team we've played this season. Could have had, a goal or two themselves. But, with that performance level and with the performances that the players are putting in, we're also getting a bit of luck as well, which deserted us last season. We're getting luck with injuries, we're getting luck with performances. Things are going our way. That ball that maybe would drift off and go wide is nestling in the back of the net. And as Donald says, on Wednesday we found a way. We are finding a way to win games. We're winning games in different ways. And I'll tell you the interesting thing. I mean, going back to that Arsenal game when we went in 2 banks of 5, for example, to bring players in, that was superb. Tell you one thing that Newcastle are doing really well, and that is that this, Tonali's not just becoming number 6 and he's giving Bruno and Joe Linton the freedom to do what they want. But there's a very clever technical thing that they've done recently, and they did it against Wolves, and that's allowing Botman and Burn to push on, and Tonali's dropping into centre half, and that makes it so difficult to man mark. Wolves didn't have an answer to that the other night, and some people, they're being critical of, say, Sean Longstaff when he's come in, or Joe Willock when he's come in. They're being asked to do a job so that we don't have to make wholesale changes with the midfield. So it's not benefiting Willock and Longstaff when they come into the team, but again, they're coming in and they're doing the job, which is allowing those players to do their job. So it's fascinating at the minute. It really is. Where's it going to end? I mean, we all know runs end, but where is it going to end? I think it's going to end, as I said at the start of the season, it's going to end with Newcastle winning a trophy this season. My prediction was 3rd in the Premier League and winning the FA Cup. It doesn't look like I'm going to be too far away with the league position and if things continue. But yeah, we've got to get over that hurdle of winning a trophy. And if we can do it this year, or do it next year, but this year's looking very, very positive, then, Newcastle will certainly arrive. But it does feel different. It feels so different. It feels different at the entertainers, lads. I was there during those wonderful few seasons under Keegan, and it feels different. It really does. And Eddie Howe's knocking down all of Kevin's records, and he's now got the best win ratio as a Premier League manager for Newcastle United. That beats Bobby Robson and Keegan. So yeah, the team's evolving, and long may it continue. Miggy Almiron as well looks like he's finally moving away from the club. So be interested to see whether Newcastle are active. There's lots of stories about players potentially coming in. Newcastle do their business best when it's not in the public gaze. So if Miggy does go, and that does get done over the course of the next 2 or 3 days, like we're led to expect, I expect Newcastle to bring in a right winger within the next couple of weeks.
For me, Steve, they've got to oust Murphy, though. I watched the game. In fact, I even messaged you saying that I thought Murphy was absolutely tremendous in that game. And obviously, Isaac scored the goals at this moment in time. Anthony Gordon, as good as he ever is, I like him as a player. Despite the shirt colour that he wears. But yeah, I thought Jacob Murphy was incredible. His pace, he looks a powerful little player, and he's a proper team player as well. He's not one of those who's like sort of out to make a name for himself. He's very much a very, very good squad player, but there's something seems to have clicked with him this season. I don't know what it is, but he's just absolutely on top of his form, isn't he?
Yeah, Dunnell says he's laid a marker down. He's got a wonderful first touch, and he whips the ball in. He's certainly he's certainly one of those players that plays with a smile on his face. He is like Miggy. He is having one of those kind of Miggy Almiron moments, which he had that wonderful season where everything he hit went in, and listen, it's great. I mean, it's good because ultimately he will be there. And have then competition if we do sign another right winger. I could be wrong, but I just think if Miggy goes, I don't think they will allow. I don't think they will allow Eddie to have such an issue that if Murphy gets injured, then suddenly we're struggling to who will play on the right wing. But I think we'll still bring somebody in, but it's all down to PSR as well, of course. But just getting back to Isaac, we've got to keep him fit. Wilson's not far away. Keeping him's not an issue. If we get European football, Arsenal's fans can get all excited about them signing all of his best mates from Real Sociedad. They can't afford him. There's only 4 or 5 teams in the world who could afford to buy Alexander Isak, because he is, I would say, at this moment in time, a £200 million player. And if you're going to spend £200 million on a player, you're going to need to pay him £400,000 wages a week. And that's what he's going to want. That's what he's going to ask for. So he is now in that Haaland bracket. And if anybody is going to buy him, it's going to be a foreign club. It'll be a Real Madrid, who at this moment in time can go and spend that kind of money. But at the moment, he's untouchable and he's for sale, and he's not a player that Newcastle will let go. But he's got to be, we've got to make sure that we have that, that kind of foresight to take him off when a game's won, just in case, And Wilson's on his way back. I still think Callum Wilson will be a vital part of this season, because if we can get 10 games out of him and his goal-to-game ratio continues, then Wilson's going to score some pretty crucial games for us as well. Only frustrating thing is we started so poorly this season in terms of results, and we dropped some clangers at home. We could be closer to Liverpool than we are, but hey, we're in the race. We are in the title race, 100%. We're in the title race. We're in an FA Cup race, and we're in a League Cup race. And at the moment, you wouldn't bet against Newcastle.
Well, speaking of those races, we'll have a quick break with the old troll of the week. Then we'll talk about the egg and spoon race that's going on down at Teesside. Yes, Troll of the Week had some great ones this week. Manchester United still remain a focus during the 90s. That's where they're at now. Spurs aren't much better, lads. I went to the kitchen in a Spurs kit, and now I can't lift any cups, says this man.
And Wayne Rooney, we've talked about him quite a bit. I was privileged enough to be invited to his leaving do at Plymouth. Fantastic night. And Arteta, a man that Newcastle fans love to hate. Here he is, a great photograph of the great man. The most perfectly timed photo doesn't exist. Well done, EPL Bible, for that one. Just getting back onto Spurs. I love people with a little bit of inventiveness within fan bases. And here's a sticker spotted on a lamppost. Postecoglou.
Oh, come on!
Wow.
It's a national animal.
So the wombat.
Absolutely brilliant. Also spotted in Glasgow. I did like this, lad. Painter and decorator, interior and exterior finishes. New York, Paris, Madrid, but mainly the Glasgow area. The rumours of Bry liking a bit of hot sauce are true. This was what we found in his fridge. I think I'll pass on this one, lads.
No.
And the winner of Troll of the Week this week, though, is Gary Scott. Thanks for this. Jack Frost, he says, poor lad scored and suddenly got abducted by aliens. Brilliant stuff. If you have got some Trolls of the Week, send them to Ted, send them to Rye, or send them to me on X. And it gives us the opportunity to play the wonderful little cat for Jules.
Just before we move on to the Borough, a great question from Barry here, as always. Guys, as two of you are trying to get promoted, do you feel either club could compete financially or in the Premier League, or is the gap too big? Great question, Barry. I think if you did get promoted that first season, I don't think you've got a hope of staying up. And we're seeing it this season again. It looks, to all intents and purposes, like for 2 seasons in a row, the 3 teams that came up are going to get relegated again. And that's a tough one, that you're not always guaranteed to come straight back up. What I think you need to do is do what Fulham did and kind of retain a core of those players when you get relegated. Use the parachute payments wisely and kind of build a squad. Ipswich are kind of doing that now. I think Ipswich know what's coming. Ipswich have already got the best squad in the Championship next season, for me. So, yeah, they're kind of building probably with one eye on that, and then hope that squad is going to be good enough. Keep the core of it together to go back up. So, personally, for me, I don't think we're equipped to deal with in a first season, but with parachute payments and hopefully getting back up. I know that sounds a bit of a defeatist attitude, but I think you have to be realistic and say, given what's going on with the promoted clubs at this moment in time, Rye, I don't know how you feel about that one, mate.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and something we've spoken about in great length, Ted. We had a bit of a chat the other night about it, didn't we? I mean, look at Sunderland committing 24 million to Lafayette if they go up. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to, at some point, gamble and roll the dice. And we've seen Nottingham Forest pretty much the only team to really do it, where they went up and blew all the money as quickly as they could on as many players as they could. They thought were Premier League quality, completely restructured their club, from the bottom up. And I don't think Sunderland or Middlesbrough are teams that would do that. I think if we would go up, we'd have to retain pretty much a good core of those players and hope that we can find some Premier League quality in there, and then obviously add and adjust sort of thing. So no, I think financially it's too large. I think you need to really try and avoid that relegation and pray that you have like an Everton or someone have an absolute stinker and that you can finish above them potentially, or Wolves or whatever like that, and just stay in that Premier League for that first season, and then you can sort of attract a bit more interest. Now you can see teams going up, like Ted just said with Ipswich. They've got exactly right. He's got it now on the head. They've got the best championship team when they come back down next season, and that's what they got to do. They've got to come back down. They'll blow the championship away, and then go back up, and then hope that they can keep that core together. And then you just sort of play that yo-yo until the yo-yo stops, and eventually it stops because you've got a good squad that can go on a bit of a run. We've seen teams do it. Brentford, Bournemouth are classic examples and a role model that a lot of clubs in the Championship talk about. But look, it's about getting the right manager and the right core of group, and then being able to add, around that, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, adding to that, Gary's just made a great comment there, Steve. Is that what the Premier League wants? Basically, stopping any club who comes up from staying up. The Premier League do have, for me, a bit of a leaning towards their favourites. I mean, you know, we talked about it in the FA Cup last week, that because of, you know, the likes of Pep and Klopp throwing their dummies out the pram and having a whinge, that's done Tamworth out of an FA Cup replay at Spurs, which would have guaranteed them an absolute fortune in money. I think the Premier League do almost have a bit of a leaning towards a little bit of favourites. Can you see?
I agree. I think football has been ruined by the Premier League, by the FA, with certain rules and regulations that they bring in. I mean, speaking of Bromley fans last week after the FA Cup, and they were over the moon, of course, that they played Newcastle and got a chance to come and play at a stadium and make the money they did. Their FA Cup run, I think, netted them something in the region of £1 million, which predominantly is going to go towards them building a new stand, which they're over the moon about. But had they managed to get a replay, for example, then it would have been a lot different. There would have been back at Bromley, and again, it's another earner, isn't it? It's another earner. So, from my perspective, the Premier League, we've got our own issues with the Premier League and the way that they helped. Try to hold us to ransom with our takeover. They tried to, put the blocks on it, and I think what Newcastle United have done, look, no matter what anybody thinks of Saudi ownership, they're no different to Qatari ownership. It's a different country with different ideas and different ways of running, and Qatar's exactly the same in so many different ways. You've got this situation which has evolved now, where the Premier League have made rules that they just literally are. They're trying to enforce them, and they can't enforce them, and they're being embarrassed with that, and they're making the gap between the Championship and the Premier League so big now that you're forcing people's hand to go out and do these kind of things to get different owners. Look, I think it's great what's happening in the Premier League, not just from Newcastle's perspective. Look at Nottingham Forest. Look where they are. And I tell you what, you've got to tip your hat to Nottingham Forest. They have tested the boundaries. They have had the balls to go and breach PSR. They got a fine. They got points deduction. They appealed it and got it reduced. And look where they are now, reaping the benefit.
Exactly.
And I think what Forest did, they'll be repeated. I think other people will do that. I don't. Newcastle will do it. But I think other people will do it 100%. Yeah, and that's right. But yeah, it's not fair. It's not a level playing. Well, it hasn't been a level playing field. But now, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, Forest, they're all now starting to impede on that kind of top six. Look where Man United are, man. If they'd lost it, they would have been 15 points behind Newcastle. They finished behind us last season. It's starting to become a regular occurrence. You wouldn't have said that a couple of seasons ago. No. It's crazy. It really is. But yeah, I agree. I think the gap's widened massively. But it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to very quickly do clue number 2, Rye. Then the floor is yours to give us a little bit of a preview of what's happening today. But yeah, so what the fact, if anyone's tuning in late, what the fact is a daft little bit of trivia that I've done. I have a wonderful fact about Northeast football. I'm going to give you 3 clues. You have to guess what the fact. So, your first clue was it was a British record that was forged in the Northeast, but only lasted for 1 season. Your second clue is only a toffee could stick one. There, I've got somebody else's teeth in.
Hey!
Only a toffee could stick one more onto the record.
Ooh.
So only a toffee could stick one more onto the record.
Okay.
So that's an Everton player.
Yep. So what was forged in the Northeast was beaten by an Everton player.
Yes.
After 1 season.
Yes.
Get into it, chat. Help me out.
Most hat-tricks. Most goals.
Most penalty saves by an opposition keeper.
Moving on.
Donald's in the chat.
Oh, he worries.
Daniel is here. He is our hero. He is our hero. He's been saving us for years on end.
It's nothing to do with Duncan Ferguson. Maybe a little further back than that, but that's all I'm going to give you. You will get one
Ryan
more clue
Robson.
before the end as well. Actually, do you know what? We're getting on towards the last 20 minutes. I'm going to give you the third clue as well. So, right, your 3 clues, all in a row here. The first one was it was a British record that was forged in the Northeast, but only lasted for 1 season. The second clue was only a toffee could stick 1 more onto the record. Your third clue. While the 1-season wonder was quick to fade, the player still holds a Borough record.
Oh, it's a Borough record.
It's got to be youngest player, I reckon. CG85.
So we've got
Might be in here.
Dixie Dean from Geordie 2 for Life. We've got youngest player from Digital Rage Incorporated. Youngest scorer beaten by Rooney, says CG85. Yep. British transfer record, says Craig Lee. That's it. Lots of suggestions coming in. Any of them close to the mark, Ted?
I would like a little bit more from Geordie 2 for Life.
All right. What's the crack with Dixie Dean, Geordie 2 for Life? Stick it in the chat.
Come on, Geordie.
He's not far away with this.
He's onto it.
I'm quite. We've got some intelligent viewers, haven't we? Yeah,
we certainly do. Do you know what I mean? We certainly do. Look, intelligent broadcasters attract an intelligent audience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now we have to pass over to Rye. So, hang on. Wait a minute. Geordie 2 for Life has got it.
Well done.
Absolutely.
Get in, Geordie.
Absolutely.
Get in.
This stat is absolutely class. I absolutely love this. I did a Borough one to make up to some of Rye's followers who I managed to upset on Twitter by
not
being
wrong.
Myself.
We're going to talk about this.
Are we really? Okay. Incredible. Right, so Dixie Dean, as many will know, had the record for a 60-goal season in the 1928 season. It's the highest scoring season by a single player, and that record still stands to this day. Absolutely incredible, 60 goals. However, the record previous to that was from the season before. Imagine scoring 59 goals in a season thinking, that's it. Nobody's going to top that. And then Dixie Dean goes and scores 1 more. That must be so annoying. So, yes, George Camsell of Middlesbrough scored 59 for Middlesbrough in the 1927-28 season.
Legend.
He remains Borough's top goal scorer in all competitions with, get this, lads, 345 goals in 453 games. It's the second highest tally in an English league campaign of all time as well. That's absolutely outstanding. That, and I got to admit, didn't know anything about George Camsell until I found this little fact, and I just thought that was amazing. So, right, that was my apology to your followers who couldn't take a joke.
For those that don't know, Ted has stirred up half of Middlesbrough this week with some untimely comments on X. You can find us on those social platforms to find all of Ted's hilarious gifs and messages that he leaves on X for yours truly. But let's talk Middlesbrough. Obviously, Middlesbrough have got a massive game against Portsmouth today. Look, the biggest thing that's been plaguing Middlesbrough for the past since January 1st is the transfers out rather than the transfers in. We're right there with you Newcastle fans with Miggy Almiron. We've got Latte Lath, who's subjected to a bid from Atlanta United in the MLS for $20 million. Now, they say there's add-ons in that could raise up to 25. Now, for those that don't know, we paid $5.5 million for Latte when we first signed him. So to see him go out the door for 20 to 25 million is it's a good, cash in the back of pocket for Borough, but he's our main striker. We're selling one of our best players, if not our best player, for the past 2 seasons. So not only have we got to deal with that speculation, we're also seeing the speculation of Ben Doak. Ben Doak's the young 19-year-old Liverpool winger on loan down to the Borough. He's subjected from numerous clubs, as we're led to believe. Liverpool saying they're holding out for a 30 million bid to come in, but I don't think anyone gets there, to be honest with you. But if they do come in, then they could tempt Liverpool quite seriously. Liverpool still to this day say that they see Ben Doak as a Salah replacement. That's how much they highly rate them. Arnie Slot saying that they're really excited about the Ben Doak's future and what he can bring to Liverpool in a few seasons. They're really happy with his progression at Middlesbrough. So I'm kind of settled on that one. And then lastly, we saw Izzy Jones, one of our own, go out to Luton Town last week for $5 million, which I think was actually quite a good deal. But we've been nothing but people out the door this past month or so, and it's been quite frustrating as a Middlesbrough fan. Now, throw that back onto the pitch, and what are we doing, Borough fans? We're not scoring. Can you believe it? We've lost all the fame that we had just rolling into December in front of goals. You know, forget Isidore missing penalties. We can't even score in the 90 minutes. So it's getting frustrating. We've got Portsmouth away today. Teams know how to defend against us now. It's frustrating. They're sitting back. They know we're good on the counter. They know that we're going to bring a good attacking threat with Ben Doak, with Latte Lath, for instance. And they're sitting back, and they've kind of worked out the Carrick style. We haven't brought anyone in, so it's a tough question of how do we get this? How do we get around this? Well, Carrick said yesterday in the press conference, I've still got a great quality squad here. It's time to use it. It's time to start tinkering. Good managers find a way to overcome when tactics start going against us. And unfortunately, tactics start going against us. But it sounds like it's all doom and gloom. We're still in the playoffs. You know, we're still right at where we need to be. We're still right in that hot seat for a good playoff run. Now, unfortunately, we've got two teams behind us that are chasing us down. Blackburn Rovers being one, who are in good form. The other one, Mogga, taking over at West Brom, one of our own. Can you believe it? Tony Mowbray back into management this week, taking on the job at West Brom, which is... It's a bit of, I don't know, it's bittersweet. I love, Mogga is a hero of mine, an absolute Borough legend. He's been in the commentary box for the past couple of weeks, recovering from bowel cancer, completely full, cancer-free now, and he's taken the job back at West Brom. And to see him there at a job, and that's the next game we play after today in Portsmouth, you know, it's going to be incredible to see Mogga back in there, but, you know, in opposition colours once again. So, look, not all doom and gloom. We're still right in where we need to be, but... It's just frustrating, isn't it, Borough fans? We saw a summer of continuation, is what Michael Carrick said. Continuity, where you've got a team that sticks together. We're not seeing many out. We managed to hold on to some of our key targets. Unfortunately, that's led us into January, where we're subject to these bids again, Ben Doak and Latte Lath. Will we hold on to them? I'm not too sure about Latte Lath. Like Miggy Almiron at Newcastle, I think it's a very, very good offer for wages to go over there to the MLS. If you had have asked me on my bingo card, Latte Lath going to the MLS in 2025, I would have shot you in the foot. But I think it's just incredible where the money can come from these days. And at some point, Middlesbrough are going to have to accept a deal. Whether, you know, I firmly believe that the Latte Lath's agent is playing his cards perfectly. They want to move. They want an offer from the Premier League. Wait, how do you get an offer? Well, you say there's an offer from another club. It kind of forces the hand of some of these Premier League clubs that might have been sitting there going, should we, maybe? And now that there is an offer on the table for Latte Lath, it kind of forces your hand because now or never. That's how I kind of feel about it. It's been incredible to see Michael Carrick still stay so resilient. It's been a tough month. We're going to get through it, and I think we've got some big players coming back from injury. And then obviously 3rd of Feb, we have got the Mackems, which we have to just absolutely obliterate them. I mean, they can't score penalties. They don't want to score penalties. And I liken Sunderland's...
They won't need to against you, man.
I like Sunderland's sort of... For those Newcastle fans, remember Alan Pardew, right? Remember the French French Revolution? That, you know... Sunderland are doing it. I've cracked the science here. The Mackems are the next Alan Pardew French Revolution, signing Lafite, Isidore up front. It's all this French Revolution. So that's going to, at some point, the baguette goes stale. That's all I'm saying there.
Yeah. I mean, you're painting this picture of misery sometimes as well for transfers and for people getting recalled on loans. And I did pick up on this from Middlesbrough. I mean, from this honest guy at the bottom, he says, a fantastic move for Sammy Silvera. Says, I once made love to a granny on the beach at Blackpool, and her oral sex changed my life. I hope he has a similar experience. That's what a loan is all about, building character and experience. So, I mean, it's good to see that sometimes football brings you something special.
Oh, when I saw that comment, I shared it straight away in our group chat. What an absolute gold comment that was. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, Sammy Silvera, one of our own. who was on loan at Portsmouth, has been sent down to Steve Bruce. I believe, Steve, as well, you were once quoted as saying Steve Bruce, best manager you've ever had at Newcastle United as well. So Steve Bruce, now the coach at Blackpool.
How's the bacon, did you say?
But look, it's good for Sammy. I think it was a good move to go down to League One. He struggled at Championship level, and to go down to Blackpool, I think it's incredible. Barry Hogan asks a great question there. If Carrick doesn't get approved promotion, yeah, I think he does, mate. Honestly, I think Borough fans, you can see on social media in the past couple of weeks, it's been hell. Honestly, it's been hell to be a Borough fan. I've tried to stay away from it, not saying too much. When I have, it's just getting smashed. We've really bought into this philosophy that Carrick's getting us promoted, and if we don't get it, then we've sort of failed. I wish we were on the other foot like Sunderland, where you weren't expecting it, yet you're getting it, sort of thing, because we expected it, and we're not really where we want to be, and Sunderland weren't expecting it, and they're kind of where we wanted to be. So it's quite frustrating in that sort of sense, I would say. But yeah, I would say, to answer you, Barry, that Carrick does go at the end of the season. But question I've got for you, Steve, that we were talking about earlier as well, Isak, right? What is it with Sweden coming up with these strikers? Is Isak going to be better than Ibrahimovic?
You know what? It's a great question, and Ibrahimovic usually talks about himself, but he was the one who recommended. He was the one who recommended he moved to Newcastle.
Exactly.
He said Newcastle is a sleeping giant, and that is the right club for you. But yeah, I mean, he's got the potential, hasn't he? He's got a long way to go, of course, but at this moment in time, he is one of those players who could dominate world football. And,
incredible, isn't it?
Just got to hope that Newcastle can continue to build around him and Tonali and Bruno and Gordon, and that's what as a Newcastle fan you want. You want to have that kind of situation develop, and unbelievable, really, isn't it? It's unbelievable to think that a couple of years after that Steve Bruce fiasco, we're now in this position where
incredible. What a turnaround.
Just got to sit back and enjoy it. That's what I keep saying to Newcastle fans. Don't be critical when things go wrong. Just just enjoy it. Sit back and enjoy it.
The other one I've got for you, Teddy boy, obviously Tom Cannon, mate. Tom Cannon, rumoured. There's a dispute that obviously he could end up at Sunderland. Look, I think Isidore, despite last night, is a fantastic striker. I honestly believe if you do get Tom Cannon, he sits on the bench to Isidore. How do you feel about the 13 million roundabouts rumours for Tom Cannon, the Leicester player, recalled from Stoke? It sounds like you and Sheffield United battling it out. Good luck with Chris Wilde and the sandwiches. My other question is, Tom Cannon, yes or no from you, mate?
I disagree. I don't think he would sit on the bench. I think the way we beat Sheffield United was with the 4-4-2. And I think a partnership of Isidore and Cannon up front is pretty formidable by Championship standards. The only thing that's kind of this is going to hinge on is we want a deal that is on loan till the end of the season, and if we get promoted, we buy him. Same as the Enzo Lafay deal, essentially. But Sheffield United are kind of willing to offer some of the cash up front, apparently. So it all depends. Apparently, and I hate using that, but apparently Cannon does prefer the move to Sunderland. Probably style of play and things like that. The service that he's going to get from some of those midfielders. I'd like to see it. I really would. I think he's a player that needs some refining still. I still don't think he's the complete article. But yeah, I'd like to see it. Of course, you want to see strikers come in. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. So I can see it. But I just have a weird feeling he'd probably go to Sheffield United and that absolute wazzock Chris Wilder, who nobody likes. But there you go. I suppose you could say after all that, Newcastle, Sunderland, sleeping giants, Borough, probably just a big bloke in a coma.
No, we're amazing. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Predictions, boys. Predictions. Obviously, we're getting towards the end of the show now. Steve, you got the early kickoff today, actually, haven't you? You're at home. Is that why we're up early?
That's why we're up early, yeah.
That's why we're on early.
It's this is a really tough game for Newcastle because Bournemouth are on a good run. They are struggling for players up front, but that hasn't put them back. And Semenyo is the big threat. We've just got to make sure that we get a hold of him early doors. But they are missing strikers. Cliver, yes, he scored 7 goals this season, 6 of them penalties. He's not firing on all cylinders, but he is capable of putting the ball in the back of the net from a penalty. Newcastle are a goal threat. I genuinely think it will be tighter than most people think. I've seen a lot of people predicting 3-0s, 4-0s, etc. But I am going to go for a 2-1 win to Newcastle. It's an unchanged squad for Newcastle. Nobody coming in to bolster it. Still the usual suspects injured, Callum Wilson and Nick Pope. Basically inching towards coming back. Pope should be available for the trip to Southampton, they say, and Callum Wilson will be back for the second leg of the semi-final against Arsenal. Obviously, we've got Harvey Barnes out for the next 3 weeks. And Miguel Almiron is expected to be in the squad today, despite the potential of a move to his old club Atlanta for £10 million, which probably will go ahead on Monday. That's what people are saying. But I think there'll be goals. I think Newcastle will edge it by the odd goal in 3. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Newcastle United. As for Sunderland, they played last night, but Middlesbrough and Portsmouth, it should be a win this for Borough. Despite all the, Rye does sound a little bit down and a bit negative at times about Borough at the minute. But I'm going to go for a Borough win because Portsmouth second bottom. I just can't see them doing anything against Middlesbrough today. So I'm going to go for an edgy win, a 2-1 win for Borough as well. 2-1s for me.
I'll go next then, right? For the Geordies, I'm actually a bit more optimistic than what Steve is. I don't know. Yeah. That's a horrendous thing to say as a Sunderland fan. There you go. I honestly think it'll be slightly more comfortable for you, Steve. I can't see Bournemouth actually troubling your defence too much. I think the defence is actually looking pretty good at the minute. So I'm going to go 2-0 to the Geordies for that one. I agree with you, though. I think the Borough will get a win away. It will be a twitchy 2-1 win for the Borough. Right. Over to you, sir.
I think Newcastle are going to absolutely pants Bournemouth in a 3-0 win. Isak's going to score 2 and Anthony Gordon's going to get 1, and Bournemouth are going to be absolutely shocked and then want to buy Isak and then realise that there's no money in the world that could buy that striker. So I think they're going to see a 3-0 win for Newcastle today. And then over to the Borough, look, I've got to be a little bit more realistic at the moment. A lot of nil-all results, Pompey down the bottom, Middlesbrough sort of willy, won't they stay in that? So I'm going to have to go for a classic 6-1 victory today to the Borough. We're going to absolutely destroy Pompey, and we're going to be back into chasing Sunderland down. So, just a casual 6-1 victory for me today for the Borough, and 3-0 to the Newcastle United. That's what I reckon.
So, just to confirm, boys, we've all gone for a win for Newcastle and Middlesbrough, yeah?
Correct.
Brilliant.
We're both losing.
I think that's the perfect way to end the show.
Put your money on Pompey and Bournemouth.
What could possibly go wrong? I do want to mention, lads, before we do tie things up for the end of the show, the cats agree, and I've got to give her a second breakfast. You're a bit twisted. Honestly, the crap I get off this cat is absolutely unreal. It's like sitting at me going, "We feed us then." We're going to give it a little mention, but we had the little idea about a bit of whether it's a GoFundMe or something like that, where we're going to pick a team from the Northeast, a non-league team, help them out by basically getting our followers and getting it out on the socials to actually spare them the expense of buying kits. All to do with kind of Tom Dixon, what's the cat called? Well, the one that's giving me crap right now is called Blanche. There's Blanche, there's Stelios, there's Kylie, and there's Penny. So anyway, that's by the by. Yes, kits for a non-league football team. I've come up with a couple of ideas for that, lads, but keep an eye out, everyone, on our socials for that. We are very, very keen to support grassroots football as well as our favourite clubs as well.
Yeah.
If your team isn't playing or if they're away from home this weekend, get out and go and see one of your local sides and go and support them, because God knows they absolutely need it at this moment in time. And I think that's about it, boys.
Have a good weekend, chaps. We shall hopefully reconvene next Saturday.
We
Absolutely.
will.
Take care, guys.
Take care, everyone. Bye. Thanks for watching.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.